When it comes to academic research, everybody's pretty much article mad. And why not? They're easily digestible, focused on specific issues, and loaded with references. What is there not to love? Consider, however, that articles are often, invariably in fact, tightly focused arguments or even conversations that are happening within a discipline, and if you don't have any kind of broader context in which to place them, you're often chasing one reference after another just to rebuild a picture that you can then actually get a handle on. The books, however, are often born of specialized research that may have initially been published in the journal literature, but are then developed within a broader range of considerations. And so there's nothing that's saying you actually have to read the whole darn book, but they will often give you an opportunity to have that broader perspective from which you can then decide how you want to focus your own arguments. Evidently, as distance students, you don't have access to the print books, but UNB Libraries has a broad array of electronic offerings at your fingertips.
Let's begin our look at eBooks at our usual starting point, lib.unb.ca. And when we arrive here, the default search that you encounter here smack dab in the middle of the screen is UNB WorldCat, our catalog for finding all sorts of materials available through the library, including eBooks, which is what we'll concentrate on today. Let's say we conduct a search for international teaching. We do have the option to search by certain fields, but we're going to keep it at keyword initially. A couple of things to bear in mind right from the get-go when you arrive at the results screen. All the results that are returned by UNB WorldCat are brought together in one screen, and then you can filter them by format. In this case, we're going to choose ebook, which brings us from 240,000 some results down to a little over 1,600. You can also, if you so choose, sort by a number of criteria, the most popular of which is newest first if you're looking for the most recently published material. Let's say I'm interested in result 3 here, Teaching and Learning International Best Practices. I can click on the View Now link here, which opens up to reveal a second clickable link, and it also tells us that this book is an EBSCO ebook, and so that means it's on the EBSCO platform, which also hosts ERIC and Academic Search Premier, PsycInfo, and some other databases. From the ebook record, you have a couple of essential options for viewing it. One is to stay within the EBSCO interface and either view it as basically incorporated into the record, as we can see here, or else viewed as a PDF, or, and maybe the most interesting and flexible option, is to download this ebook so you can use it offline. This can be particularly useful if you don't have a dedicated and robust internet connection. And even if you do sometimes, I find that flipping from one page to the next within the EBSCO interface can sometimes take a lot longer than at least my own patience will permit. And so let's download this book. We're going to have to create an account in order to download the book, and that will also enable us to see whether we can download it at all. Many of these books have certain restrictions on how many downloads can be happening at one point. Sometimes they allow for several or unlimited concurrent users, but that isn't always the case. You'll only know that after you've signed in with your MyEBSCO account. And if you don't have one, like me it turns out, you create one. So let's create a MyEBSCO host account. First and last name are no-brainers. Don't use mine though, use your own. The email address should be a UNB email address, even if you typically use a personal one that you have synced with your UNB email address or not. Username, let's say, I'm going to put Mark Bragdon as all one word, and then password, which is always my favorite part of creating an account anywhere. Secret question, secret answer, don't anybody look. We're going to save that password, and my account has been created. It has brought us back to our book record. It looks slightly different, but what we wanted to do was download it, and the link is right here in the upper right corner. Notice that it's telling us that our viewing requirements include, for the desktop, Adobe Digital Editions 1.71 or higher, and then for Apple and Android devices the Blue Fire Reader is recommended, and for a Kindle, PDFs can be created in the ebook full text view. We're going to take a look at the desktop option here. However, the procedure is going to be relatively transferable from one option to the other. Adobe Digital Editions is quite similar to Adobe Acrobat Reader, which you use to read PDF documents. It's so common that we take it for granted and is often installed by default on our devices. That's not the case with Adobe Digital Editions, which means that we'll have to download it. The good news being that it's free and easy. So I'm going to go to Google here. Google download Adobe Digital Editions. This looks like the place. There is a Mac version of Adobe Digital Editions, it turns out, but seeing as how I'm on a PC at the moment, I'm going to choose the Windows version. So I click on the link, I save the file, and then wherever the file is located, which will depend on how your browser is configured, you'll go to that file and click on the installer application. Run it. And now if I go to my downloads folder where the book itself was downloaded, and it doesn't have a very catchy title initially, but if I double click it, we can see that it has invoked Adobe Digital Editions and is loading presently. And so here we are. The whole book loads, and then you have a few options on how to manipulate it from here. Back to our search results in UNB WorldCat now, and let's take a look at another book. In this case, we can see that there's an ebook version on the EBSCO platform, but also on another platform called eBrary. So let's take a look at that now. eBrary books have a bit of a fancier interface, but basically the same sorts of functionalities that you find in EBSCO. In other words, you can read the book from eBrary or download it for offline use. This is going to require creating an account similar to how we had to create an account on the EBSCO platform. In this case, I already have an eBrary account, so I will sign in directly, but otherwise we would click on Create an Account here. You can specify which type of device you're using and whether it's your own computer or a public computer. It's suggesting we get Adobe Digital Editions to read it, which we already have at this point. So we're done with this step, and we will download the book. Notice how we could open it directly with Adobe Digital Editions, but we're going to save the file first. Go to the download folder or wherever your book has been downloaded, your own browser and computer configuration, and double click on it. And once again, the book appears in Adobe Digital Editions. Consider too that there are a couple of places on the library website apart from the catalog where you can engage with ebooks. One is from the eBooks tab here, where you can conduct some searching for ebooks, or directly from an ebook platform's interface by going to the Resources tab here and choosing ebooks, and then you can see the full list of options available to you, including eBrary collections and EBSCO ebooks.